Hi everyone, it's Erin from Erin Vasquez Success Coaching, and I am here today to talk about how to help someone who might be suffering from depression or might be suicidal. This is a topic that is always in need of addressing. There's a lot of stigma around mental health. I'm recording this on a week when both Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, two creative visionaries, have taken their final exit out. And the whole reason I started my business was because I've been on the other side. I've been in that dark place where it seemed like there was only one way out. I got through to the other side, and it's my life mission to help people who are ready for it. So there's been a lot of imploring on social media to have people reach out if they really need the help. But the thing is that if people are depressed or suicidal, one of the things that they tend to do is get into a belief that they're going to be a burden to other people. And they're not necessarily prone to reaching out. So if you know of someone or you love someone who is suffering from any one of these conditions, there's a couple of things that I would ask you to keep in mind. First of all, I want you to know that this is not meant as medical advice. I'm not qualified to give medical advice. I'm here to give you a certain perspective and mindset and tools that might be able to help you help somebody else. If someone that you know has a plan to hurt themselves, you need to call medical authorities or psychiatric authorities and help them out that way. And first of all, what are the signs that someone might be suffering from depression? It could be an increased intake in alcohol or drugs. It could be isolation. It could be sleeping too little or too much. I know when I was on the other side, I slept a lot. I've always loved sleep, but it was just like way, way over the top. Loss of interest in activities that once interested them. Withdrawing from family, friends, society, taking a lot of time off of work for no real good reason at all. Those are some of the major behaviors to look for. Now, in terms of helping someone who is depressed, it might be a little bit difficult to know what to do, especially if you've never suffered from the whole ordeal. We all get sad from time to time, but a chronic depression, especially one that leads someone to take their final bow, the way that Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain did this week, is really flabbergasting to some people who have never really been in that space. And that's totally fine. So here are my recommendations for helping people who are depressed that you love. And the first thing that I recommend is knowing to not take it personally. I know that if you're romantically involved with someone or really close to someone who's depressed, it might be very tempting to think that somehow it's your fault that they're suffering. Ultimately, and I know this sounds a little bit brutal, we are all as individuals responsible for our own thoughts, feelings, and actions. And even though someone who is in a really bad place might say things that are hurtful or blame certain other things, if you are there to help, you're not going to be able to help if you're in any kind of like space of defense mode, and thinking like, but I meant this or that. Just know that it's not your fault and do your best to leave your ego out of it, right? When they change their state, when they start to go on the road to wellness, when they start that journey, that's when you can discuss any interrelational components that need to be hashed out in that relationship. But if they're in a depressed state or certainly a suicidal state, you gotta leave your ego out of it. It's not your fault. So the second thing I would say is that they need time and permission to feel the feelings that they're feeling. A lot of the reason that depression goes even further than it already is, whether it's triggered by a chemical imbalance, whether it's triggered by a significant emotional or physical event, whatever it is, if we don't have permission to really feel those feelings, like the negative emotions, then we tend to push them off into the shadow side. What's the shadow side? Basically, that's a way of saying we're suppressing emotions instead of processing them. So instead of processing them, kind of acknowledging them, that they're normal, maybe we're scared of them, they're really uncomfortable, they're certainly unpleasant. There's a reason why they're considered negative emotions. They're certainly unpleasant. So it's not necessarily fun to go through and deal with them in a really healthy way. So when we don't deal with them in a healthy way, when we don't fully integrate them, excuse the doorbell, I'm about to have a baby, so every day is like Christmas. I'm sure that's another package being dropped off. Anyway, when we don't fully integrate them, they're shoved into the shadow side. And when they're shoved into the shadow side, we're not getting rid of them. We're actually giving them more power. And it shows up in really unconscious ways until it's manifesting into some of those warning signs that I discussed at the beginning of the video. So give them the permission to be sad or frustrated or angry or all three or even more of those things, because so often we have this belief that we just have to like gloss over any of these negative emotions, especially in my industry. I actually wrote a blog post about this. Like, there's like a cult of happiness. Like, we always have to be like on top of it, in peak state, really happy, but that's not realistic. Our negative emotions actually serve functions. And the functions of letting us know that something might be off balance, that someone's violating our values, that someone or that there's something that we're ignoring that we need to go take care of. Oftentimes it's like our own true desires, our own truth, right? Like if you're a creative that's worked with me and you've started out like, oh, I wonder if I should be doing this or if I should just like give it up. That's a story that comes to me very, very often with my clientele. That is rife for disparity within someone's own self, right? So we have to give each other the permission and the space to feel those negative emotions. Now, when does that become inappropriate? Right? Which is a really good question. We can't let it run the show forever. The processing needs to happen, the integration needs to happen, and the healing needs to happen. There are other ways to do that, and I can do other videos on that. I'm not saying give the person permission to really feel into it like forever, because it shouldn't run the show. That will lessen their quality of life, and that's not good. So whether it be medical intervention or changing the pattern, which we'll talk about here in a second, it needs to change somehow. But first of all, they need to have the permission to feel the feelings that they're feeling. They also need to have permission or acknowledgement of their problems, that their problems are real. And it's not up to you to decide whether their problems are real or not, because I promise you, when they're in that depressed state, their problems are so real to them. And it doesn't matter what other people have gone through. It doesn't matter if they have a beautiful home on Park Avenue like Kate Spade. It doesn't matter if they're paid to travel to the south of France. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's freaking stunning. Anthony Bourdain was in the south of France when he took his own life. So whatever the problems were, like sitting there and saying like, well, at least you're a really well-respected designer who was a founder of lifestyle branding. Like, that wouldn't have been effective for Kate when she was in that state. I'm willing to speculate, right? Or with Anthony, oh, well, at least you touch a ton of lives and everyone thinks you're freaking amazing and you've traveled the world and everything. You think he doesn't know that? You think he's not aware of that? Whatever the problem was that he was experiencing that led him to his final exit, it was a very real problem, no matter how you and I feel about it. So if you're helping someone with depression or who's suicidal, whatever they're feeling, no matter if you're secretly rolling your eyes in your head, you can go ahead and do that. That's fine. If you feel like it's petty or whatever, keep it to yourself. But let them know that it's real and let them feel into that. So repeat back to them what they're saying. Oh, so where you are right now is da 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 da. And let them be seen. Let them be heard. Let them be felt. So often we don't have that in our lives. Just that right there is such a gift for someone to show up and see you for who you really are. Oh my gosh, that will make a huge difference just right there. Okay, so step 1, know that it's not your fault. Step 2, let them feel the feelings. Step 3, really reflect back to them that you understand them and that they're having problems, and just acknowledge them for where they're at. Okay, step 4, what we have to do is change a pattern, right? So the pattern can be, again, it might need to be medical intervention. The last time that I was really depressed, I did have to get on meds. I'm no longer on them. That is a personal case-by-case kind of thing. Some people are candidates to be on meds for the entirety of their lives, and some people aren't. Okay, with that being said, how do you change someone's pattern? It could be as silly as making a joke. It could be taking them for a walk. If there's the possibility of kidnapping them and taking them on a trip out of their environment, out of their head, changing the stimuli around them, that is what you want to do. And what you're looking for is a change in physiology. You'll see it in their eyes. You'll see it in their face when they smile. If you can get them to laugh, boom, that's that's what you want. You're getting them out of their head. How do you do that? You can say some weird ass stuff, right? I remember during the intervention that kind of changed everything for me, Tony Robbins mentioned a couple of things. He would say a few taboo things, right? Made fun of me for living in Las Vegas. He asked if that's why I was suicidal, which was kind of funny because I was not happy about moving here. That's a story for another time. So anyway, and that got me to laugh. It got me to smile. It got me out of the pattern of sadness and focusing on the problems that I was experiencing at the time that were really triggering this cycle of depression. So whatever you can do, it might take a little more time. You can watch a lot of other coaching videos just to see how people snap the pattern. If you have the kind of rapport with a person where you can throw a bottle of water in their face, do it. They'll be so shocked. They'll be absolutely shocked. And they'll have no choice but to kind of come back and be like, hey, what was that? And that right there is a different pattern. So once you get them into a different state, then you know that you can shift their focus. So what do you shift their focus to? Well, very often when someone is depressed or suicidal, they're focused on one thing, their problem, or maybe the myriad of problems, and it's tunnel vision, right? So what you want to do is expand their field of vision so that they see that there is more than one thing, that there is more than a problem. And you want to introduce these other options after you've changed their state, because as I mentioned before, if someone had said to Kate Spade, 5 minutes before she hung herself in her Park Avenue mansion, at least you're a well-respected designer, she wouldn't have heard it. It didn't matter. She knew that, right? But she wasn't in a place where she could receive that or where it would have been significant enough to stop her from doing what she did. So what you want to do is introduce new or reintroduce new options into their awareness or into their consciousness. And what kinds of options? What kinds of awareness? And since you know them and you love them, you want to introduce new awareness and consciousness, or new awareness of things that are related to what really lights them up as a person. So for me, I think what really lit me up was learning and contributing. I was able to get a job where I felt really valued and where I was really contributing, where my brain was working, and I was able to contribute to the household, which was really important to me. I've been working since I was 9 years old. So that was really important. If for them something lights them up, like horseback riding, take them horseback riding, or animal rights or something like that. Reintroduce something that's going on in the world that's positive, that's contributing, that might be able to contribute to their own growth. And see what lights them up. You'll know because you know them. And it'll be really valuable to them. And you'll see that their focus will move away from their problems and towards something that is like really valuable to them. Okay, so then what do you want to do? You want to help with accountability. As a loved one, if you can pop in and take them to a yoga class, or take them horseback riding, or send them an article, or call them, or drop by, basically be a pain in the ass. Like, show up. If the medical intervention is what's needed, hang out. See if you can stay with them for a little while and make sure that they are taking their medication and that it's really having those positive effects that the doctor intends, then hang out and make sure that that's happening. Kind of be a pain in the ass. Don't mind your own business. Seriously, don't do it, because they'll lie, not because they're bad people, but because they don't want to be a pain in the ass, or they're ashamed, or like for all sorts of reasons. It doesn't matter. So that's it. Like, to recap, know that it's not your fault. Don't take it personally, all right? Then give them the permission to feel the feelings that they're feeling. Acknowledge their problems as valid and true, even if they aren't valid and true or relatable to you, because I promise they are so real to the person that you love, okay? And then break the pattern, right? Like, throw a bottle of water in their face, make them laugh, get them physically active, even if you have to like drag them. If you have a swimming pool, I was just thinking this morning, like, if I had a swimming pool and I was helping someone with depression right now, I'd probably like invite them out for a cup of coffee and then push them in the pool while they're fully clothed. That'll break the pattern, right? So do that, and then change their focus and introduce new options that connect them with their bigger purpose and passion in life, so that they can start remembering a more compelling future than whatever is going on in their present. And then hold them accountable, check in, be a friend, notice the momentum going a different way, right? And if you have any questions, please let me know. Subscribe to the channel to get updates. Yeah, just let me know. Leave comments, whatever it is. I am so heartbroken to hear about Anthony Bourdain. I don't want this to be happening to anyone. Everyone has something really special to contribute. And I'm here because I want you to shine bright. So anyway, continue to shine bright. Reach out. I'm here. Email, leave comments. Have an amazing day and be well.